Guess the intro didn't work. Hey, I'm Dominic D'Angelo of fourhorsemanetwork.com, and we're live here on that channel. I hope you like, subscribe, and share because guess what? We are with none other than the boss, and we're going to get some straight talk. That's with Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. Magnum, how are you, man?
Man, I'm glad to see you made it back from Sin City.
Man, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except the shingles that I got. And shout out to Greg. Greg, how are you feeling? How's the back?
I'm not doing too bad.
Good.
Some good news yesterday from the nurse that I can start walking, making some walks again, and maybe go home here soon.
All right. Getting back in the ring here, probably within the year, I imagine.
So within a year.
Yeah, sounds great.
But I won't remember where I am, but it'll be a year.
That's good. One step at a time. That's all.
Yeah.
But shout out to everybody live in the chat here. We got Triple E in the house. We got the other boss in the house. We got Logan here. We got Charlie CJ Ortiz in here as well. So if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them. Always helps to use the super chat. But yes, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and get the word out about the show. And let's get some traction going on here because we got a good one today. We have a lot to cover because last week we didn't get to cover and preview WrestleMania. Well, this week we get to talk about WrestleMania and the fallout after as well. Magnum, let's just get your overall thoughts on the presentation of the two nights in Las Vegas and what you thought of the show.
The presentation was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the big video screens as they came down the walkway and the things they were able to put up there and share with people in the building. I mean, it was very, very cool vibe as a whole. I will say, I think 2 nights is too much for me. I think I know they made, a mountain of money and bajillion people watched it and all that kind of good stuff, but you wear them out a little bit, and it's hard to have that many things for people to be emotionally invested in them all be great. There were some very very compelling stories told there, and some that we look for conclusions that I think people would agree might have disappointed them a little bit. And particularly the main event. And I think regardless of how good something is, the very last thing that you see kind of puts a flavor on the whole thing. And, we can talk about the main event later, but I don't think it was WWE's finest moment.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about the main event here coming up. But, Greg, let's get your just overall thoughts on WrestleMania. And, hey, yeah, it being 2 nights, what do you think about that, too? And the presentation and the overall execution of the show.
Oh, the execution and the presentation were phenomenal. But I'm kind of with TA there, and we both had talked about this. 2 nights is a little overwhelming. They did great money. They did phenomenal at the gate. They did phenomenal with their merchandise, without a doubt. And they're going to continue with a couple more of these 2-night events. We'll have to see how it rolls out in the future, because there was so much emotion to me. In both nights there was emotion, but it's kind of a burnout, I think, where you could have probably, got 2 big pay-per-views out of it. It's a tough one because, I got a little wore out on the second night. The matches, I thought, all in all, in second night were probably a little bit better than the ones on night 1. But all in all, you can't take anything away from it. It worked for them. They did phenomenal. And I don't like to criticize the good work that they put in to make that work.
Yes, it is. There's a lot. We talked about this right before we started, Greg, how many, and this was on a different topic, but how many of the wrestlers put the work into to get to that and make that big stage. And so, yeah, it's very difficult, but the overall, the feel, I was envious. I wasn't there. I wanted to just take in the atmosphere a lot because the atmosphere itself looked very cool. I think if you were to pick apart the 2 nights, night 1 definitely didn't feel as big as night 2, I think, in my opinion. But I do appreciate how they look and executed it from that whole standpoint. I thought it felt like a big deal, obviously, at the Allegiant Stadium, and it felt like a packed house. I thought all that was really well done, and yeah, from all that stuff. But yes, let's talk about that main event. John Cena does make history and becomes the 17th world champion, the first ever 17th world champion from the pro wrestling standpoint. And he defeats Cody Rhodes, and no Rock showing up. Many expected that to happen, and he did not. We did get Travis Scott, though, and he helped John Cena get that championship. Magnum, we exchanged a little bit of text the day after. What did you think about that main event? And yes, how would you have done it differently?
Well, I've come from the Eddie Graham, Bill Watts School of Psychology, and you tell a story, and they had started telling the story with the Rock and the Switch, and being a Rock guy, and he was going to be the Rock's champion, and Cena turning heel, and I get it if maybe the Rock wasn't feeling it, wasn't available for it, or just didn't want to go down that road anymore. But unfortunately, you painted a picture to where you just yanked something away from the people and didn't give them that finish, didn't give them that reason for the interaction of it. They substituted it by having Travis Scott come down, but he had no inkling of an idea about what timing is. You got a referee that's down forever from a bump in the corner, at which time in a championship fight, another referee should have come down and been there. But you got Travis, who from the time he came in till he got down there and got in his deal was almost 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Wow.
And so his little interference, getting involved deal lasted almost as long as Joe Henry's match with Randy.
Right.
Which was obviously like just a squash. But again, we don't have to like the conclusion. There can be people say, "Oh, I wish I had taken the belt off of Cody," but it was the fact that they didn't get that Joe Frazier Muhammad Ali confrontation. The match didn't live up. The match was not the best example of what both those guys are capable of doing. I get the slow, deliberate, methodical type things, but the intensity wasn't there. I mean, John looked like he was just walking through. Looked like he was walking through a practice. Like we're walking through. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It had no fire and intensity for the grandest prize in wrestling. And I'm going to be really armchair critical here because we're looking at it after the fact. But I realize it's a different era. But if you've been kicked in the balls, hit in the head with a belt, had your eardrum busted, been humiliated, there's not a whole lot of smiley, I'm coming down for be part of this big event. You're coming for a fight. And to me, because of the long drawn out thing with Travis, it made all the work they put in Cody, all the work before last year's WrestleMania, everything building him up, the comeback from the pec tear, the this, the that, finally overcoming, Roman Reigns and that whole clan of guys, and then battling through an entire year of really pulling your weight and being the centerpiece for the company this whole last year, having him have a belt in his hands and letting Cena beg off and then just get kicked in the balls and hit in the head and get beat is not the kind of warrior they made Cody into being. And to me, they just undid mountains of work that can be overcome, and anything can, of course. But on the grandest stage of them all, why do you put your babyface in that situation? Screw them out of the title. Sure, great. Get the guy the 17-time recognition. I totally understand all that from the business standpoint, but the match itself and the way that finish was executed just didn't do anybody justice.
Yes. Greg, do you agree?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. All that build up to the big WrestleMania and the big match between the two of them, and then have an outsider come in, and like I said, it took so long and dragged out. It made Cody look bad and made Cena look bad, I thought. I mean, the match itself, Cena's been off for a while. You could see that in the way things were done and the timing. But again, if you're building up to this big match between the guy coming back to hold the record for a number of times they won the World Heavyweight Championship, it should be like a Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier match, and the focus should be on the two of them, and everybody expected The Rock to get involved. He wouldn't have to get involved. All he had to do was really walk by the ring and look up and, take a distraction away from Cody and something quick come up. But to do what they did, I thought really made, it left me flat. And,
yeah.
You're focusing. I mean, you're building this thing up as a world championship match. Then let the two of them have it, and come up with you really didn't need anybody involved if The Rock wasn't going to get involved, and, work out something that makes sense. That to me did not, and again, left me flat.
Yeah, I'm with you both. I understand the incorporation of somebody like a Travis Scott simply from like the social media reach standpoint, but at the same time, like to what you were saying, Magnum, and I just read a quote from Jeff Jarrett, and he basically echoed the same sentiment that like that entrance was way too long, and I think that shows that he doesn't have an understanding of the business, and he went down there and kind of just took it all in for himself in a lot of ways and took away from the match itself. Like if he showed up in like real quick and then Cody just did not mince any moments or take any time and just gave him a crossroads, hit him in the eardrum, did something like that and took him out, that's all you needed really. But I think him showing up gave the expectations, well, here's Travis Scott, The Rock's coming out then next. And we did not get that. And I think, Greg, to what you were saying, it's almost like you didn't need him. I understand incorporating him because of the reach that he has from like, all the other outside non-wrestling fans you can reach in that way. But I mean, from the story that they told over the course of the year for Cody, and then Cody hesitating, not doing it, it did take away a lot from what you were saying, Magnum, that warrior mentality. I completely agree with both of what you guys have said on this.
And it was a theme throughout the entire show. I mean, I saw it in Gunther's match. I saw it in AJ Styles' match. I saw it in the girls' three-way for the world's title. I mean, there's this theme that just doesn't seem to make sense with the psychology of the pictures you're trying to paint. So you got AJ Styles turns down, the use of the brass knucks and has had a great match, and then comes in there and gets hit with a punch and gets beat by the heel. Whether Logan Paul's supposed to have a plate in his hand or whatever, to beat someone like that, to have Cody, going to try to take the high road and not be a heel, and then just get just get played, look like that, to having the girls, who I like everybody in the match, but the two stand and the little Io Sky is a phenomenal performer, but she's not on the superstar level perception that those other two girls are. And they have all the meat of the match, and then they got a little fluff. I'm gonna do a backflip off the top and beat everybody. I mean, things just don't make sense. Gunther, the toughest SOB to ever be out there, has his own finish put on him and taps out in 15 seconds and looks like, he went back to flipping kindergarten. I mean, I don't understand all the investment in these characters, and then just to like somebody got to be finish person for a day and come up with the cheesiest thing they could think of.
Yeah. I think it's very and that's a great point. I didn't even think about like how many of that happened throughout the course of the whole show. When it was like AJ Styles like had this moral dilemma going on, and Io Sky is different. I like her a lot, and I think she's great. But I honestly, if you just gave me Bianca versus Rhea for a WrestleMania match, I'm all in on that. Like those two slugging it out for that championship would have felt like a really, really big deal. I understand they want to get people on the card and do the right thing by a lot of the talents because of all the work they put in. But I also think from the aspect too, it's not. If this is not a gold watch season, you know what I mean? Where it's just
and along those lines, you got Ashley, who fights back from a injury that would have put most people out for their career, and battles back, and thinks she's going to be a baby face. Fans turn her a heel, and they they're afraid. They got such an investment in Tiffany and seeing the future in her, which I get, but they use that train of thought with Ashley. Well, oh no, well, we can do something else with her later, whatever, blah 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 blah. But she's come back from that, and then on the flip side of that coin, you got Becky Lynch comes in, steps in for a night, wins the tag team titles, though she drops them the next night, turns heel, blah 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 blah. But the logic, all the things they stereotypically say about Cena killing people's baby faces and killing people's careers, and they said the same. Some people have said the same thing about Charlotte. Same thing about Becky. They propel those thought processes by the way they book these things.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, they just feed it. Makes no sense. Dominic Mysterio to me was the superstar of the entire event. He should have been Mr. WrestleMania.
Absolutely. What Greg? Yeah, Greg. Was there a match that really stole your heart? I guess on the card overall, was there one that was like?
Well, there was quite a few of them, but the girls' match I thought was phenomenal. I'm with TA on that. I mean, I used to, Vern had a pretty good feel for everything. My father.
Yeah.
And what it reminded me of some of the outcomes of these matches where, this guy's been a good guy for us. This gal's been good, not any trouble. Let's put the title on. But they're not money.
Yeah.
And, you need the money people in there holding those titles. And we have Bianca Belair and Rhea in there, and the way they performed. God almighty. Why wouldn't you put it back on one of them?
Right.
Io's been there, and we've been doing all these things out there, and she's a nice gal and doesn't give us any trouble. Let's put the title on her. But will she draw money?
Yeah.
That's
it.
And it comes down to that. And there was quite a few matches in there where I thought, what did they do this for? Why are they putting them on? I mean, you even go to Jey Uso. He's a great guy and a great performer. But can he carry the world title and draw money?
Yeah.
Who are you going to put him up against? That's going to draw money.
It's a good point.
That's what you have to look at. I mean, I love Jay to death, you know, and he works hard, and you know, people, oh, you deserve it, you deserve it. Well, you might deserve it, but you got to put money in the bank.
Sure.
You know, you got to draw people into the arenas now. And maybe he can. Maybe he's that over. Maybe I'm missing the boat on it. But you got a lot of people there that, you know, Gunther to tap out. Come on.
Yeah.
Fast and in his own finish.
Yeah.
In his own finish.
Uh-huh.
So Jay can do it better than he can.
That's a great point, right?
Yeah. If it would have been something just quick, a quick 1, 2, 3, and he kicks out, Jay wins and beat the shit out of Jay some more, fire him out of the ring.
That's an even better story to tell because you can then continue, dude, and have that going.
He catch it quick right out of the air. Boom, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
You know, boom, 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 bang. How did that happen?
Right.
But shit, to take the guy down with his own hold and have him tap out to this monster that you built for a couple of years now?
Yeah.
That just didn't sit right with me.
That's a really, really good point. I think too with Jay, I mean, the question is open because I know he sells so much merchandise. He's one of the top merchandise sellers for WWE. So like he's making them money, huge amount of money. So I understand putting the belt on him, but once he's the champion, is he going to continue to do that?
That'll carry it, you know. Who are you going to put him up against?
Will that be that'll be the remaining question.
Put him against Roman Reigns? That's not
you put him up against Seth and he loses the belt. That's what you do.
It. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, Seth, Paul Heyman guy, Braun Breaker with him, whoever next. Let Cody come back and join that crew, and then that would be a good spin.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a good move, that group.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, absolutely. Oh man,
that's really a surprise, the Breaker coming in there. I mean, that was well done.
That was. Yeah. And it appears too that maybe Becky might be aligning with them too. Like if you're considering that Seth and her are married, she turns heel. You put her with Heyman too, and that's quite the faction you have.
He's never managed a woman, has he?
No. I mean Medusa with Dangerous Alliance, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah,
but that's it. Like that's been it, really, to be honest. Boy, that'll be.
There's a lot of good things. Don't get us wrong. You know, we're a little nitpicking here. But all in all, you know, I mean, they got what they wanted out of it. But
I don't think
I think there's some things there that might hurt them a little bit in the long run.
So elaborate, Magnum.
I don't think that's what they wanted. Mm-hmm. I think they're sitting back. There's a lot of people having discussions in closed doors about a lot of things. Yeah, great. Everybody can cheer about the money and the deal, but they're always looking 6 months, a year down the road. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you have people vehement, it's just like when they tried to screw Cody out of the main event, you know, of WrestleMania last year, and they had that huge, you know, just pushback from the public. That turned the ship around. I've seen more backlash personally over just disdain for the way that whole thing was handled. That they're gonna have to just think how they capitalize on Cena's heel capabilities. I think he could go out there and have a great match with Randy. If that's what they're going to next, but they got to be careful, or if he doesn't drop the belt and he's just going to go have those kind of matches, he could damage every single person's star power on his way out.
Yeah.
And that would be bad. I mean, you know, it might be interesting to have a real shuffle of the deck and have the belt kind of jumping around a little bit. You know, maybe have Cena lose it, have Cena get it back, and be 18-time champion. You know, I mean, you know, there's a host of things they could do. Cena doesn't just have to ride the wave out till his, December date, and he's finished up his obligation. They could do some exciting stuff.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking too, Magnum. When it comes to Cena, I think it's cool that he's the 17th, he's the unprecedented champion, so to speak. But from the match itself, it was like, I'm curious how much he was playing the heel of being the slow, methodical person and like taking that out, taking a lot of the excitement out of it in a certain way. But like, and he said this on Pat McAfee the next morning. He said 2015 John Cena is much different than 2025 John Cena. He's like, I lost a step, and he admitted it. He admitted that he lost a step and everything like that, and what he was doing. And so I'm curious, like, yeah, if that's the type of matches we're kind of gonna get, that's not gonna be really valuable to WWE or to him for his legacy in certain ways. So how long is he gonna hold on to this championship? Like, could this just be a really quick thing where he, I don't know, transfers it over to Randy and Randy turns on Cody and then you get a good feud between those two? Or what exactly is next for this? Because, I want to see John Cena continue this heel run, but if he's not able to compete at the capability he wants to, it's going to be a little tough.
Yeah, I think they got some interesting choices that they got to make, but you can't hurt Randy. You'd be really, I mean, he's the most credible guy on the whole roster,
right?
Absolutely. And he's got too much gas in the tank not to to do anything to just have some. If they have some stinker Rooney type deal with him, it will have a bad. It'll look like a trend, and then you'll get a lot of backlash.
Yes. Yeah. Greg, what would you do with the John Cena heel run here? How would you handle forward?
I'd get over it pretty quick.
Would you?
Yeah. You can see, I mean, John was trying hard, but from our perspective, being in the ring before, it's hard to be off that long and come back and give especially in that situation, championship match, world title match, the biggest thing that's ever happened. You have to really be able to go in there. And I could see a few times in there, timing was off a little bit, and just hesitation in some of the moves that he wanted to make. So I guess the sooner they get it off him, the better.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know any other way to put it.
I'm not sure how they're going to do it, or
I mean, I don't think he can go in the ring and have the type of matches he used to have. If he's going in there with Randy, I mean, they're going to, Randy steps it up pretty good, and it sets a pretty good pace. And when you don't have that ring endurance from being in there all the time, that's when you start missing things and the timing gets off.
Right.
So, they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish, making him the 17-time winner of the world title. Now, get back to business and get back to building, what you have up. And again, I didn't mean, I hope I wasn't degrading Jey Uso. I mean, the guy is a great performer, great in the ring, but can he draw money? Of course, he sells all the merchandise, if they're going by the merchandise, and if he can do the same thing in the ring that he can with the merchandise, great.
Right.
But can he as champion carry that thing the right way?
That's it. Like, you think about Cody, the thing I am intrigued about Cena winning this title is I was like, you know what? It's got to be kind of thrilling to Magnum, what you were saying too, it did take away like Cody losing in the fashion that he did. It was like, I would have done it differently. But like, I do enjoy the dusty fashion of the thrill of the chase. And I think that's where Cody's lane is really, really good at. How is he going to get that title back? Well, will he get that title back? There's that kind of question. I think Jey almost falls along those same lines in certain ways where it's just like, oh, he's got it. Now what's he going to do with it? And is he going to draw people?
And I don't know if you listen to the people. And I'll say this. If John has missed a step in his physical capabilities from an in-ring performance, his ability on the mic is a 10 plus.
Yeah.
He is so good on the microphone, and he's so good at playing the people, and he even told me, he said, I'll play you like a bunch of a puppet on a string.
Yeah.
and it's a shoot. I mean, he's got their number, and and I don't know if you heard them. People were booing Cody while he was doing his thing, and
Yeah.
he said something to them like, "Shame on you guys," you know. I mean, here you go. You're doing the same thing to him that you did to me all those years ago. Y'all are as fickle as the wind.
Yeah.
And no matter how much somebody, your heart, blood, and soul you've given, you got this culture of people that just just go off the rails. And again, I think that's why it's so important, particularly as a baby face, that you got to stand your ground, and you got to be, you know, the school that I came from and had beat into me by the old guys that were pretty smart, was that if you're a tough guy baby face, you didn't get toe to toe. You did not get beat.
Yeah.
You did not. And if there's a straight up wrestle match, you did not get beat. Yeah, if you were the guy. Now
Mhm.
you could be some up and comer working way up the ladder and not all that. But if you're the John Wayne, you're the quarterback, you're the guy, you don't get beat toe to toe. And I think that's something that's missing. I think that's kind of the deal, because they'll beat somebody with something just that makes no sense after all the work they put in. And I really just don't. I think just common sense psychology is like a forgotten art.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
too. I'm with you on that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I am too. I think.
Getting back to Tiffany and Charlotte,
Yeah.
the two of them beat the hell out of each other, though.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. She did.
I think, you know, Tiffany's still a little green and got a little caught up in the action, a little lost in there. And I
Uh-huh.
could tell that Charlotte was getting a little frustrated. So she gave her a couple wake-up calls. Did you think so, TA?
I thought they couldn't relax and find a rhythm. I
Yeah.
knew they had to start off very intense because of the way they built it, which was the right thing to do. But they couldn't be, because Tiffany's style is so, you know what what Ashley's established, the backflips, all the gymnastic stuff. Ashley's been doing that stuff for 15 years, and Tiffany's just a new little Barbie flip around model doing it, and it's the youth movement. I get all that, but it's not a sunset flip off the top rope with a 130, 140 pound woman does not have the impact of Jacob Fatu leaping
Right.
up there, and you seeing this flipping madman, Dago Samoan werewolf flying through the air. You can picture that pretty much is going to do you in, but all those things, because the girls have done it so much, it just doesn't have the same impact
Right.
that it once did. Snatch it, get that's why I always thought it was great that Charlotte had the figure eight leg lock thing that she combined it into and got a submission hold, because those other things are really just high spots. They're really not. They're not finishes.
Mhm.
And so again, I think they tried to cram an awful lot into a short period of time. They had some little dipsy doos and turns and dosey dos that didn't go just right. Probably really frustrated Charlotte, because I'm sure she's a perfectionist and probably her own greatest critic of wanting to be the best. And Tiffany did an unbelievable job for the amount of time she's been in the business. I mean, handled herself with a great deal of poise, and did a really good thing. For me, I go back to what we were talking about earlier. I think the chase is the exciting thing for people to watch. I think they could have, they'd have booed them out of the building if Charlotte had won, but they'd have wanted to see Tiffany come back and get her title back.
Yeah.
And they could have milked that out for, till the next pay per view or whatever. And Charlotte could have dropped it back to her. But
Mhm.
as it was, they took her whole comeback of a year, and everything she put into it, and leaning into the heel side, and she could. I mean, she would have done something, and she would have done something to screw her out of the title, you know. But they didn't even, you know, they didn't even make that a thought for a minute, obviously. And again, I think, you know, I guess they were knowing what they're going to do with Cody, and they're thinking, well, we're getting ready to really upset them over here. And the old school of thought was used to try to make them happy on the pay-per-views, particularly, you know, the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania. But you know, they knew they were going to leave them with a sour note, so they were probably picking their shots as they went through, saying, we'll do this, we'll do that. But I'm going back to Dominic Mysterio. He's my MVP.
Mine too.
He's mine too. He's mine too.
I hope they don't beat him right away now.
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to keep it on him. It'll be interesting because I tell you what, that was my favorite match of the whole weekend for WrestleMania, was that Fatal 4-Way, I think, because it told all those guys did such a really well done job, and then the finish was seamless. Like Finn Balor hitting the coup de grace on Braun, pinning him, and then Dominic coming in with the frog splash, and then just pinning Finn right from there. It was such a fun finish. And like, there's that fine line between love and hate, and like, people love to hate Dom, but then you could see how much they loved him winning that championship. So I think there's a lot you can do with him.
It was good. It was really. I mean, that's the kind of finish that surprised everybody,
right?
Caught everybody off guard.
Yeah, right.
You know? And they really reacted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a little farts are really good on his interviews too.
Oh my God. He's seriously what Magnum. I'm with you. He was like the MVP of the whole weekend. He really was.
That one caught me off guard too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you want.
Absolutely.
You know, the other ones were pretty predictable. I mean, I trained Tiffany, but I didn't think she was ready to carry that thing, and I thought for sure they'd put it back on Charlotte.
That's what I thought too. I was pretty surprised about that finish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially after watching the match, I just thought she kind of was off a little bit, and just could have been, the pressure of being in there. But, she did it all in all. It was, it was good.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting like, obviously you get a different type of crowd for WrestleMania and the Raw after WrestleMania. And I think like those fans booing Cody and everything like that. I had a high school friend message me who's a wrestling fan too. And he's like, why in the heck are people booing Cody right now? It doesn't make any sense. And I was like, you get that fan base that wants to be more in the in, and they're like really ardent fans, and they want to make themselves a part of the show in certain ways. So I think there's a contingency of that. I think if it continues, that might be a little bit more of an issue after the fact, but hopefully like some of this stuff levels out where it'll be like, okay, they're going to boost. Let's get those fans that come to the events usually and cheer and boo the heels and do it. And it's going to be proper storytelling too. That's going to take a big aspect of that, but yeah, and I'm curious though what they will do with Charlotte and Tiffany, because Charlotte they implied that she gave a little bit of respect to Tiffany after the match in a certain way, and it'll be interesting to see how the crowd reacts to her, maybe kind of still trying to maintain that babyface thing, and what they're going to do with Tiffany too, because if she's going to continue as a babyface in that role, or what they're going to do with her too. I don't know. It's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, they've got a lot to work with.
They sure do. Magnum, before you hopped on here, Greg and I were actually talking about it. I didn't even really, this didn't hit my radar to talk about this week, but they released that trailer for Netflix, that WWE Unreal, where they really are pulling back the curtain of how WWE operates behind the scenes. And you see Triple H interacting with Jey Uso and kind of doing his thing as the chief content officer and booking the shows and writing and all that stuff. Greg, why don't you give your thoughts first that you told me about that, and then we'll get Magnum's opinion on it.
Well, I think they're just opening it up too much to the public, and I think the ones that are on the edge, you might lose them. I just I got to go back to the philosophy I was brought up in, and boy, just I got to see it to see what they're really going to do. I mean, are they sit with all these people say, hey, here's what we're going to do with Jey Uso, and here's what we're going to do here, and here's the outcome. And I mean, why would you go to a match then? Why would you go watch it if they've told the whole story up front? Maybe they're not going to. Maybe I'm off base on this, but from the way they're promoting it, I don't know. What do you think, TA? I mean, God.
I think they're trying to find every way to capitalize on every lane that's out there, because I mean, you know, from the earliest days of them having reality shows with people, you know, trying out to become superstars and everything. It's whether you give them the ins and outs of the booking committees or the creative or whatever. I mean, we've already established the fact that this is just entertainment, and you know, they are able to blur the lines sometimes, because even people that make movies together get ticked off occasionally, like you know, the Rock and the Fast and Furious guy. You know,
Vin Diesel.
yeah. I mean, it happens in all walks of entertainment, sports, everything else, and they're just looking for another intriguing subject matter. And there's people that'll be, you know, be really into it. It'll probably you know, get some kind of legs, but as far as it hurting the business, I don't think it's going to hurt the business any more than, you know, seeing behind the scenes of Yellowstone and seeing all the people sitting there talking and drinking coffee and shooting the crap that are, you know, villains and wanting to kill each other on the show. I mean, it's really become just that. You know,
I guess it has, yeah.
You know, it's just such a departure. And I wanted to mention that, you know, about, you know, the culture and the change. You know, I listened to Tiffany do an interview that she done, I think, with Wade Barrett, that they showed during the WrestleMania week.
Uh-huh.
And it was you know, it was before the match and everything. And it was kind of I mean, I'm sure it was a work, but it was a half-ass shoot, I think, a little bit, because she was talking about, they were kind of talking about the tension between them, and kind of, you know, I don't know how they said it, but I don't think they said off script, but basically said, you know, something had gone awry in their, you know, in their interactions and stuff. And Tiffany made the comment that is so resonant from this era of kids that we live around today, and that she said she felt so bullied that she, you know, it almost made her not want to like do this anymore. And that the way Charlotte was interacting with her was so intimidating and so, you know, I guess she felt so disrespected and pushed around that she was having problems coping. And I thought to myself, man, that is scary, that in this era that you couldn't even have the shoot interviews like we used to have, that we would just, you know, hold no bars, and just like, you know, trying to get under somebody's skin, or, you know, doing things with such intensity that you believed everything that we were saying. I'm not sure some of the boys and girls of this generation could survive that.
No, I don't think so.
It's a different, well,
Could
like in comparison to past generations, like your guys' generation, or even the couple generations maybe after you too, like there was you know, so many people went from from sports to pro wrestling. And like I've talked about this to you, Magnum with Tessa and stuff like that. She was in a sports like environment and in high school and stuff like that, and she was used to that competitive atmosphere. And Tiffany is too. But I think too, from that generational standpoint, where social media is so embedded in our culture and everyday life, that like you get criticism constantly if you're a public figure, and so that like kind of hits at you. But yeah, it definitely opens up. I think that in tandem with like how people are raised nowadays in certain ways, that it people are a little bit more sensitive now. And if you're a creative type, like a pro wrestler, a lot of ways, there's a lot of sensitivity that comes into play where it's just like a lot of those wrestlers, I think today, not to be harsh or mean, because I am kind of that generation as well. Initially, organically, I am a sensitive person. So I can definitely sympathize, but I also know this is a different dynamic behind the scenes in a locker room and things like that, and how things get played. So it's like I think a lot of the current talent today probably would not make it in the previous generations of.
No, they wouldn't have.
They would have made it through the locker room in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come off with that sensitive vibe like that, I mean,
Sure.
you would just get gobbled up and spit out.
You would, without a doubt. They're
Yeah.
also sensitive now. They want to be liked by everybody. Don't say that about me. That hurts. Well, when we told an interview and we were talking about wrestling and Nick Bockwinkel or Ray Stevens or TA's wrestling Koloff, you have to speak from the heart and how you really feel. You have to deliver that to the people, how you really feel about this thing. Make it, it's real.
Right.
And say the way you feel, and Heenan used to be unbelievable. He'd pick up those little idiosyncrasies that everybody had. He would just turn it up, he'd get shot. But if you couldn't deliver that, he didn't make it. And, you have to have thick skin and realize, this is what it is. And I saw when she jumped out of the ring, and they said he went off script, and she just didn't know how to handle what, Flair had said to her.
Yeah.
And, she's been babied most of her life. I could tell when I had her, I told you, I had her, threw her out of the gym 3 times.
Yeah.
But, I said, you better learn, this is the way it is. And this is the way people are going to talk to you. And this is what you have to do. And if you can't do that, then go home and stay home. You're not going to make it.
Right.
And that's why I thought they would really give it back to Flair, because, I love Tiffany to death. She works hard. She's a good athlete, but I don't think she's really ready to carry that thing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'll probably get a lot of heat for saying that, and somebody else get back on me, but that's the way I feel about it.
Well, and let me be clear, I'm not picking on Tiffany. I was more talking about just the whole vibe with, and particularly with the women. It's probably prevalent, some of the men, but because of being able to kind of pull back the curtain, be exposed to the things I have with Tessa and talking with Medusa about just the things that go on the women's side. It is just bizarre. It's like something out of a bad soap opera, more so than anything they got scripted going on their angles in the ring, and it's like it's just not a good culture, and I don't know that it's embedded so much in the WWE, but it is definitely out there across the enterprise from AEW to NXT to TNA. The Indies, the women do things to each other that no guy would ever put up with one day without somebody being toted out and probably never coming back. Ever. So I mean, it's just progress and great performances and the thrill and the action and the things that they do are second to none. But there's still this thing about respect and earned respect and a code of ethics that you operate within the confines of the business that should still be as prevalent today as they were for the last 50 years.
Right. Yeah, I mean, from what you've talked about, like the women's locker room dynamic, it seems like I saw the play Glengarry Glen Ross in Broadway on March, and that's really like kind of like, and then like those salesmen in the play, they stab you in the front, and they stab you in the back. It's like, and it really, I could almost think that's kind of almost the dynamic where it's just like swimming with sharks, basically, in a certain way that, you know, you have to survive on your own, and there's maybe a bully mentality that goes on with it in a lot of ways, and everything like that. It seems like a tough business to be in with that, you know.
Well, yeah. If you talk to the girls, go way back to Moolah, you know, they'll tell you similar horrifying stories of things that, you know, that went on, and were just, you know, inhumane. So there's something in that gene pool, or that you know, too much estrogen going on, I guess, in the whole dynamic of what's happening and how they combat challenges and overcome obstacles can just become wicked. So yeah, is what it is.
Well, and you think about it too, in today's wrestling world, women's wrestling is mainstream, you know, so it's even more elevated there. It's on a higher pedestal and everything like that, and rightfully so in a lot of ways. Like we were just talking about, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, they could tear the house down if we wanted to see that happen. So I mean, like, there's no knock against that whatsoever. But I mean, that it being elevated even higher makes probably that competitiveness and what goes on behind the scenes even more elevated and more intense and more ruthless. So it's an intriguing and sounds like a very unfortunate aspect of the business too. That goes on.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I can stay arm's length away.
Me too.
Keeping the distance.
Still though, those three girls had a hell of a match.
They did. They really did.
That
And
really,
I like Io Sky a lot
too.
For me. Yeah, I like Io Sky a lot too. But I'm with you guys in the aspect of, hey, that's all I need was Bianca and Rhea. Hey, if you wanted to have Io win the title at SummerSlam like later on or something like that, that's something else. But you're setting it up. You don't have to have three-way matches to get everybody involved. You don't have to do necessarily like this. I understand you want to pay the respects and all that stuff. Do it down the line and building stories and telling stories, I think, too. All right, let's take a couple questions and then we'll close this baby out here. Mr. Yayo asks an interesting question here, Magnum. Did Magnum TA ever work with Bobby Heenan?
With who?
Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan. No, I did not. But I'll tell you my Bobby Heenan story. I had the pleasure of being at a Comic-Con or a wrestling convention in New York. That he and I and Tony Atlas were sitting on a panel. I don't even know how I got involved in this thing, to be honest with you. But anyway, you know, it was a heavy New York crowd and very much WWE, fan base, you could tell. And I was, you know, the only one there kind of representing the South. Yeah, I mean, Tony Atlas does too, but you know, he's very well known in that deal. And you know, people asked me some questions and, you know, different whatnot. And I had never formally met Bobby before that. And Bobby went, and it came over to him, and I don't know what possessed him to do it, but he gave me like the greatest tribute. Went on a little spiel explaining to the audience what I had done in the industry and what might have been, and just a very just out of nowhere kind of really some of the nicest recognition I've ever been given by someone that I, you know, certainly had no background with and wasn't close with or anything else. And just said some of the kindest words I've ever had anybody say about me. So that's my Bobby Heenan experience.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
Usually he'll do that whole big story and really put you over and then have a zinger at the end. And he was great at that. He would find the little idiosyncrasies with guys and really get on it and paint the picture to the public. He was one of the most phenomenal interviewers and heat getters that I've ever been around in my life.
Yeah, Bobby was great.
Here's what he said one day. I had a match coming up with Bockwinkel, and Heenan was his manager. And he said, I understand. I heard that Greg Gagne was down in Florida training on the beach down there in Clearwater. So I went down to keep an eye on him. And you know what? I was watching him, and all of a sudden I said, he's not moving too much. With those skinny little legs, he was stuck in the sand. I mean, those are the kind of things he would pick up on you, and he would just drive him.
Boy, can you imagine the zingers Bobby would throw out to today's wrestlers and how they might react to that?
They wouldn't know how to handle them.
They wouldn't know how to handle them.
They wouldn't.
Yeah, he went off the script.
Yeah.
Went off the script. Oh my gosh. There was another good message that or question Matt Carter had it. I gotta try to find where it was. Shoot. Matt Carter had a good one. Matt, it's something about a tag team. I know you posted it. I gotta find it here. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Mr. Yayo asked a different question for you, Greg. Greg Gagne, have you ever worked with Haku? Are you aware of his lore? Do you know all of the stories of Haku or Ming?
Yes, I do. I was in the ring with Haku a couple times.
Were you?
Yeah, in tag team matches. Yeah, he was great. He was really a good guy. Really solid in the ring. I mean, you had to be prepared. When you were in there for a match with him, you better be ready because it was physical. But great performer, great guy, and very, very solid. I guess that's all I can say about him.
Yeah, you can hear, the toughness of Haku. I heard the one story. I don't know where it was at, but somebody threw a cinder block and it hit him, and it didn't phase him. It's just like, wow.
Oh, he cleaned out a few places.
That's what you hear.
Yeah,
what you hear.
He was tough.
Toughest but nicest guys in the business.
Yeah,
that's the same with Jacob Fatu too. He is so athletic. He looks so intense and so wild, but seriously, one of the nicest people behind the scenes you could ever interact with. And I don't want to ruin his character, but he's very nice backstage.
Just don't get on the wrong side.
Don't get on the wrong side of him, that's for sure. Here we go. This is the good Matt Carter question. We'll close it out with this one. Since you guys are a tag team on this show, he asks a tag team question for you too. If Greg and TA were a tag team, who would they like to face from any era? You guys teaming up in your prime, who would you want to go up against? Who do you guys think you would compliment?
From our era, Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel, or Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson.
You know what? Wow, somebody said that exact same thing in here, and that was Karcher. He said, I would think they would say Patterson and Stevens. How about that?
Yeah,
wow.
I don't know who TA would say. I mean, I would never had the opportunity to work with the Andersons. That would be another one that I would like to get in the ring with.
Yeah.
I tell you what you would have loved to have done is work with Bobby and Dennis Connery.
Ooh.
Bobby Eaton is probably one of the most amazing guys to ever be in the ring with. And I mean, he could do anything. His stuff all looked great. And I mean, he was just a complete night off. And Dennis Connery was the original in the Midnight Express. And I had the pleasure of, I don't even have a clue how many times we wrestled them, and they put up with me because I was just making my climb as Magnum is Wrestling 2's partner, and I was very intense. They couldn't figure out half the time whether I was working or shooting, what what was going on, because my intensity was just the thing that came natural to me, and I could do it. I could turn it on pretty quick, and you couldn't really tell whether those laser beam lightning bolts coming out of my eyes were a work or a shoot, and I was a little snug on top of that, so you fill in the blanks.
We would have been a pretty good team.
You guys would have, heck yeah.
A lot of fire between the two of us.
You guys would have brought the intensity. And yeah, quite the contrast in styles a little bit too, like Magnum with the brawling style and yours.
I'd give him a hot tag and he could.
Oh man, I want to watch it. This is the kind of a funny. So So Gagne Magnum versus Dom and Marcus D'Angelo. My brother's a wrestler. I'm not a wrestler. But Greg, we were talking back how, like, you know, all these wrestlers take all the bumps and like they don't understand, like you were talking about the Unreal thing. Well, literally, they showed me on the hotel bed how to take a bump. Marcus and the wrestler we were with. And I tell you what, that even doing it on a bed is a little scary for me. I was like, what? You guys do this on a common occurrence. I could see how that really wears on you.
Oh, it sure does.
Holy smokes. My goodness. Yes. That is not for everybody. That is for sure. And it is not ballet. That's for sure too. So, Magnum, I forgot to tell you. So I saw Tessa at WrestleCon and I forgot to get a picture with her to send to you.
Well, she took a few. I saw her all over the internet. So
yes,
saw her out there with her dad, and her sister was out there with her too, Tally. So yeah. They it must have been. I can't imagine. It must have been just a sea of humanity of people.
Oh, it was crazy.
In that convention.
It was crazy.
It had to be.
I will say, like, and I said this on another show too, that WrestleCon is really nicely set up. So they had the main floor, but the only criticism I have is they had an upstairs and then they had another room. And I know you cannot fit everybody in one main room and you have to kind of, you know, make do with what you have. But I think there was an unfortunate aspect where you literally had to go upstairs to see other wrestlers. And there were some big names up there. There was like Arn, there was Jake Roberts, there was Ted DiBiase, the APA were there, Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. But like, I do think that it took away from those kind of talents getting huge lines, big lines. If they're on the main floor, I think they would have got a lot of more traffic. And then, so I'm going to make a point, I think, to email the WrestleCon people and make a suggestion that, hey, not everybody can be on that main floor, but maybe rotate some people throughout the weekend. So a little bit of these wrestlers who are big names get a little bit more traffic at their table and make it worth their while.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
But it was an overall fun experience.
Did WWE put that on, or is it?
No, that was its own separate entity. WrestleCon does their own thing, usually around WrestleMania or SummerSlam.
Okay.
And WWE did the WWE World, which was their own kind of convention thing, and
right.
that's where they did the Pat McAfee.
Did they sell much merchandise?
Oh, they sold a lot of merchandise. A lot of merchandise.
Yeah. Did you go to the Hall of Fame?
No, I did not. No, So since I didn't get credentialed to anything this year, I wasn't able to go to a lot of the different things, but I did get into WWE World and things like that. So I got to experience some of that and get some cool stuff. I was on the Pat McAfee. I wasn't on it, but I was there for like Paul Heyman being on the Pat McAfee show, for John Cena. Saw Stone Cold get interviewed and got some coverage, a little bit of that and stuff. So
did you see his trip down on the on the four-wheeler into the wall?
How about that? That lady took the worst bump of all time. Like, you talk about a delayed bump. That was a little bit of
she didn't get hurt. She got startled.
She did, yes.
She got startled. But I mean, I knew I could see it coming because those tires will not grip on that padding that they got going. And I said, man, he's going to put. He made one loop around. He should have stayed with one.
He should have stayed right there.
He went into that corner too hot in the tires. He turned the wheel, but it just kept going straight.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
So it was awesome to see Stone Cold there. But I honestly thought that they were going to incorporate him in the main event too, like from how it was all kind of set up. Because you would see, I saw Stone Cold earlier in the week, and he was happy-go-lucky, and like during this interview that he was at World, and he was like Steve Austin, and he's like, it's good to be Stone Cold and come back to WrestleMania and stuff like that and get in that character. And then if you watch the Hall of Fame, he was Stone Cold, like on stage, like, or not during the Hall of Fame, but during the Saturday where they announced them at WrestleMania. He was like stone face. He was very much Stone Cold. So I was like, he might show up on the main event. And I thought him and The Rock were going to come and they were going to have a controversy there. None of that happened. So it was awesome to see him both nights, but it was also like, dang it, he just announced attendance. I wanted him to do more. So a little bit of a bummer there. But
well, it sounds like he had a good time. That's all it counts.
It did sound like he had a good time. So it was fun to see that for sure. So this was a good time. good to be back with you guys, and good to see everybody in the chat here. Shout out to everybody doing that. Winning Reality was in the house. CB's in the house. Triple E. We had Willie Thornbrew, who's a regular. Orlando Ochado. Mr. Yao, thanks for the questions. Shout out to everybody. Oh, Darren Staley, who's always a good one, dropping some Glengarry Glen Ross lines. I appreciate that. But guys, if you want to continue, be sure to follow Magnum TA on Instagram over there at Magnum_TA. Be sure to follow Greg on Instagram at Gagne.Greg. You can follow me on X at Dominic D'Angelo. Be sure to support the show. Go to FourHorsemenNetwork.com. Like, subscribe, share, and then also in turn, go to the podcast feed, type in Four Horsemen Network. You can get this show. You can get Arn Anderson, which that episode will be posted here today. And then this episode will be up tomorrow morning for you to tune into if you're listening. Also go to 1tsport.com. Check out some merchandise there. Keep your tabs in on Powertown. Any updates on Powertown, Magnum? Somebody's asking about the TNA figures, which I got to address afterwards. But
Tariffs.
Oh, the tariffs. There it is.
You got the world at a standstill.
So there it is.
Trying to figure out how to navigate it, because everything we have in the pipeline that's being manufactured and people have already bought, and we're trying to get here, we cannot get it here without incurring a cost that's more than what we sold it for.
Yeah. Frustrating aspect of it all, I'm sure.
More than frustrating, because trying to get a strategy, because we've got some big plans, we got some huge things in the works that we can't even move forward on because we got this log jam going on, trying to figure out how to navigate this. And and the bad thing of it is you could go through all these Herculean efforts to come up with a plan B, and before you could even get it implemented, they're liable to make a deal and make the whole thing go back to status quo. So it's really difficult time to be, particularly in the toy manufacturing business, because 80% of the toys in the world come from China.
Right.
And if they don't figure this out quickly, it's going to impact Christmas like right now. Ooh. Because all these things come over way before the fact. It doesn't it's not like Santa Claus comes down in his sled and drops that stuff off.
Wait, what?
In Thanksgiving, it's all, all that stuff's in the pipeline now. So anyway, it's a
Trump
challenge.
will get it handled. Trump will get it handled with China.
Well, I sincerely hope he does.
I do too.
We're working on some diversity planning, because regardless, I've never been big at wanting to have all my eggs in one basket, but the unfortunate reality is the greatest craftsmen in the world that do what we represent in our company are in China.
Yeah.
And it's not, those skill sets don't exist there. I mean, there's things made in Vietnam and some other places around the world, but not to this degree, like what we're trying to do. But I can't even tell you how many hours we've spent working on different strategies and different ways to overcome this. And I got people frustrated because we've gone radio silent, because honestly, we don't know exactly what to communicate, because anything we say could change before it even hits the press.
Yeah. Oh, what a tough business to be in right now.
It is.
Yes. Thanks for keeping
us there, though.
We'll get there. It's a tough process, and I'm sure fans are wanting to know about the figures and all that stuff.
Oh, God, yeah.
It'll all level out here at some point. So just know that everybody's trying to do what they can and keeping things cooking here. So
hang in there. They'll get fulfilled.
That's it. Winning Reality does give you a quick shout out to Magnum. He says, "Big love to Magnum TA, my childhood wrestling hero." So,
thank you.
Shout out to you.
Who was that, Courtney?
Oh no, who was that? Huh? But we got
not her childhood daggone wrestling hero.
That's it.
Maybe as a teenager.
Hey, there you go. Right. CJ also says, "It was great to get together with you fine gentlemen. Greg, I continue to keep you in your prayers and hope you get to go home soon. God bless you, sir.
I hope so too.
We all do.
It's wearing on my son-in-law and my daughter and their
shout
kids.
out to them too. We appreciate them as well. So, hey, we'll see you guys next week here on Straight Talk with the Boss. The boss, that's Magnum TA. And hey, the facilitator, that's Mr. Greg Gagne. We'll see you next time, guys.
Take off.